Hello everybody, this is Alex Dugas, your Seminarian Intern, and this is day one of our St. Joseph Novena, ending on, wonderfully, his feast day on the 19th. So, great day to start today, our devotion to St. Joseph, and how I'm going to do that throughout the next, how many days, 9 days to be exact, is to take one little piece of the Litany of St. Joseph that's included in with this video. And now there's many different titles that St. Joseph has here, and just to show the multiple ways in which we might learn from him, and which might have him as an example and as our own father in a sense. So let's just look at that first one that's on the list there. It goes by many different names. If you're using a different litany, it might just be something different. But this one here says he's the illustrious son of David. So Joseph is of the house of David. He's descended from King David, and we hear that long list of names in the Gospels. And there's the two different versions there, but both of them end with St. Joseph. And it's important that we have that lineage there. It's important that we hear where Joseph comes from, because it is through Joseph that Jesus, our Lord, is of the house of David. Because Joseph is his foster father, that Jesus is a member of the house of David. And so there's a lot of names in there, and it's I've always wondered when I heard that, it's like, should I know who these people are? Are these people that I'm supposed to know? In many ways, probably not. Because when we start with David, we start recognizing names. We hear David, we hear Solomon, okay, I know those guys. And then suddenly the names get more and more, I don't know who that is, or they get more and more obscure. And that's because David's line came into obscurity. There was a lot of rascals in the house of David, a lot of not great people. You had, of course, David, the king, this great leader, this great warrior. You had Solomon, who was legendary for his wealth and his wisdom. But eventually, the house of David became scandalous. It became, to be honest, awful. And after the exile, they become less and less important until you get to Joseph, the foster father of our Lord, who is no more than a simple carpenter. And it can seem kind of sad that this royal house has sunk to a seemingly low level. But that's the wonderful thing about Joseph, is that Joseph is tasked in a way with rebuilding the honor of the house of David. This simple carpenter rebuilding the house that our Lord promised would rule Israel. He's this simple carpenter, and how different he is from the rest of his family, the rest of his house, is that he is, first of all, a man of humility, a man who obeys the Lord and is simple in his desire to serve the Lord. So let's take that as an example through the next 9 days. How we might be humble, how we might serve the Lord in our own ways, how we might be obedient to his will as St. Joseph was. Because no matter how simple Joseph was, or no matter how quiet or a humble man he was tasked with the greatest task that any of his house was given, which is the guardianship of God himself. And so as I end this first day, I want to read briefly this quote from Father Federico Suarez, which I hope will carry us out through the next 9 days, thinking about St. Joseph and his relationship to us. He says, "It is not necessary for all of us to shine before men. They do not even need to know of our existence, for neither prominence nor lack of it is of the least importance. It is sufficient merely to carry out the little, commonplace, almost banal duties of each day with love and humility, and with the intention of pleasing God. In his eyes, this is what gives witness to and proclaims the intrinsic qualities of man. And it is Joseph, the last of the patriarchs, who shows us how, in following this way, any one of us can come to be a great saint." I'll see you all tomorrow.